Yes, thank you, Dr. Shaji. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I congratulate for the noble mission. It is a need of an hour today. And I thank you for inviting me to share my work. I'll give an introduction because what I have been working since last 5 years uh, is uh, is a path less taken. So how I started with this journey, my journey of treating cancer patients with homeopathy, that I happened to see few patients of cancer, and they consulted me for homeopathy treatment. And while referring their cases, while because I had not much idea, I have read that these remedies are very useful. While I was teaching materia medica, while I was reading materia in treatment of cancer, but I had no practical idea. So then I started referring, and it got my attention that we have a huge gold mine as far as cancer therapeutic is concerned, but this area is not well known. And I started giving them to patients, and to my surprise, the results were quite encouraging. And there were increasing number of cancer patients coming to me to seek homeopathy treatment. See, this really motivated me, and I started doing lots of studies in this cancer remedies. And I have I started gathering this remedy. I have shortlisted them, and later on I happened to meet like-minded people, and we ended up starting a cancer research foundation. And I have published few research papers and book, as Dr. Shaji introduced said while introducing me. And we have a special cancer OPD at our place, where till now in last 4 years we have seen more than 1,000, seen and treated more than 1,000 cancer patients with homeopathy. So what I'm going to share, that when a cancer patient comes to you, see, we know that we take the symptoms, we take the totality, and we do repetization, and according to the approach suitable to us, we give remedy. But it was one of the most difficult tasks when the cancer patients comes to us with various stage with deep pathology. The conventional ways of prescribing is not sufficient so many times. And as along with that, our knowledge about these cancer remedies is still not sufficient. It is not integrated with the current advances. So what I did, that I started with breast cancer, because I was seeing many breast cancer patients in my OPD, and I have made a list of all the cancer remedies listed in our repertory and materia medica, which are indicated for the treatment of breast cancer. And I have started working each remedy in detail, for like Asteria rubens, Buforana, Hoang, some were very well known remedy, some were lesser known remedies. So like this, I have studied almost 100 breast cancer remedies, and I'm going to share about a case, then the approach I take in the clinic while I treat cancer patients, the possibilities, and few of the remedies I have worked about. So let us start with a case. Is it visible, Dr. Shaji?
Yes, yes. Yes.
My opinion, right. So this lady came to me in 2018, end of 2018. She had a breast cancer in left breast. She got operated, and after a few years, she developed a suspicious lesion in her right breast. And she was really afraid of going through the cycle of surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation once again. And so she contacted me. Here is the ultrasonography report, which is showing that there is a lesion, small hypoechoic lesion in the right breast. It was chances of recurrence of the breast malignancy, and there is a benign cyst also. So she came to me in end of the November, and I took her case. She also had a strong family history of lung cancer. Her mother died of lung cancer. So, and she had already one time cancer, and she wasn't ready. So I took her case, and based upon the symptoms available to me, I prescribed her carcinosin because of the family history. And it was a breast cancer which moved from left to right side, her left to right side, and other symptoms present. I prescribed her lecaninum, and she did well. The tumor stopped paining, it stopped growing in size, and she was much better. For 1 month, she was given lecaninum in water potency in plusing way, and she was much better, but still tumor was present. Actually, she came to me in the November, and I do not have the sonography reports available of the November. In December, she went again for the sonography. The size, which was increasing, stopped increasing, and she was overall better, but the lesion was present. Then I found that she got married very later in the at very late age, and she has taken lots of hormone therapy for conceiving. Based on this history, my second prescription was Aristolochia clematitis, and it was given 3 times a day in December. Aristolochia clematitis I used to prescribe when there is a lots of history of taking synthetic hormones, either for menstrual irregularity, contraception, or infertility. When someone has taken synthetic hormones, and it is a very good carcinogenic plant. So based upon this history, like we give Nux vomica to antidote allopathy medicines, same way I give Aristolochia to antidote the hormone side effect. And follow-up, which was taken in December, I prescribed her Aristolochia, and see the follow-up in the January. Sonography was done with high probe. Study was performed in axial and sagittal planes. No evidence of mass or any focal abnormal lesion seen on the either side. Even the cyst was gone. So normal breast sonography. So this was the result. I am presenting this case because this is one of the very good case I have treated so far. I cannot say that every case yields to such result, but here within the one span of 2 months, the cancer was gone, right? So this is the possibility of homeopathy, that if we sharpen our knowledge, if we sharpen our research, if we sharpen our skill, cancer is curable. She did not have had to go for chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, the pain she was afraid to go through once again. And with very simple and gentle medicines, cancer was cured. So this is one of the very successful case I have cured so far. So with this example, and this 4 years of my practice of treating cancer patients has always made me realize that homeopathy has got tremendous potential in treating cancer, right? Cancer is one of the most dreaded pathology. Once the cancer is diagnosed, patient and the family and relatives are into a huge trauma, fearing that the treatment is going to be very painful, very expensive, and in the end, they will be on the losing side most of the time. So at that time, what is need of an hour? We need a therapy which is not harmful, which is affordable, which is nature-based. So homeopathy is such a promise to cancer patient. It is a promise to medical science that there is a lots of which can be done with homeopathy as far as treatment and therapy of cancer is concerned. And we are seeing initially when we started our cancer foundation, most of the cases we were seeing were the palliation one, that doctors have diagnosed those patients as incurable. They are left to die. It is very bad word to say, but there is no hope and they are suffering, and they used to come to us, but we could palliate them with homeopathy remedy. And this increased our confidence in ourselves, our therapeutic science, and in patients. Now we are getting all sorts of cancer patients, and I cannot still say that all the cancer patients yield to such kind of results. We have our share of failures, which is also very fair enough, but the success rate is quite encouraging, and it keeps us going and chasing that yes, we can do a lot. We need to sharpen our skill, and we need to have a collaborative effect, that within 20 to 30 years, we can establish homeopathy as one of the most reliable science to offer treatment to the cancer patients, one of the most authentic and scientific science. We know that homeopathy has so much potential. Still, it has not been established the way the promises it holds. So I will start with, I'll give a short outline that what we do in our clinic when we see cancer patient based upon my experience. I tell you, I'm here on the learning side, right? I'm just a beginner. This field is so huge. The challenges are so vast. So I'm beginner, but what I have learned so far, I would like to share with you. So let us start with what happens in the clinic. Dr. Shaji, are you able to see the slides again?
No, not at present.
Okay, okay.
You have to share it again.
Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So cancer is a complex what happens in the clinic? What happens when we see cancer patients in the clinic? What are the scenario and what strategies we take? This is what I'm going to share in a quick way. So cancer is a complex, multifaceted condition. We need different approaches and strategies to apply as per clinical condition and staging of the patient. So first kind of cancer patient which comes to us is a patient with precancerous lesion. So what we need to do, a patient is having a suspicious lesion, and here is the place where homeopathy has the most important role to play. That patient is having a doubtful lesion, but still is not stamped as a pure cancer, but patients are said to be careful. Maybe there is a strong family history. They may go for preventive mastectomy or ovarectomy to stay safe. And such patients comes to us. So when a patient with a precancerous lesion comes to us, we generally give a constitutional remedy with a use of nozo, depending upon the family history or past history of the patient. Prevention is better than cure. These are the cases where homeopathic application is very effective. The second scenario is a patient with well-developed primary cancerous lesion, the case I shared with you. This is the most challenging scenario with lots of scope. Most of the patient would choose here to go for surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation and continue homeopathy along with or afterwards. But there will be very few virgin cases of cancer who are not willing to go for orthodox medicine. So points to consider while prescribing for a case of primary malignancy. So what are the things we take into account? Any emotional grief, mental trauma prior to the development of cancer. See, there is a very beautiful line written in one of the natural therapeutic book of cancer that nothing happens if nothing happens. That means if there is nothing very graveful has happened to the patients, generally a serious pathology like cancer will not develop. So we need to palpate what has actually caused, because it will pave our way to prescription easier. Then history of addiction, if any. Then exposure to carcinogen. When we take the case, we need to consider these points. Past history and family history of spouse too. Why we need to take history of spouse? So this is also a matter of debate, but I have found, and I have presented my paper also, and we have done a pilot study of around 500 patients, that if a partner of the patient had cancer in their life or had a history of family history of cancer, the cancerous cells or gene or the taint can be sexually transmitted. I will not go into detail of this history, but we always ask along with the family history of patient that what is the if there is any history of cancer or tuberculosis in spouse or spouse family. Then detailed case taking. These are the things to be considered. a cancer case will rarely yield to a single well-chosen remedy. This is also the fact. Generally, we think that we have made a totality and a remedy has come and we will give the remedy and everything will be solved. No, this doesn't happen with such complex pathology. As I have said in my last case also, I had given carcinosin, lactaninum, and then aristolochia. So Dr. Reamer has said the frequent change of remedy according to the presenting scan can be of usefulness. Dr. Reamer was Dr. Kant's disciple and he did marvelous work in cancer therapy. So CR and NOZOD in higher side of potency and pathological remedy in lower potency or Q is the general rule. So we need constitutional remedy, NOZOD, and a remedy according to local lesion or a pathological cancer remedy to treat such case. Only one remedy will rarely yield to the results. Then treating the local pathology. While choosing for the local lesion, consideration of below mentioned factors will be found useful. Side and location of the lesion, then sensation, what is felt, which kind of pain is felt in the lesion side, then modalities, then which type of carcinoma, anatomical as well as histopathological kind of and system and organ to which metastasis has taken place. This is also very important because when there is a local pathology, we do not have much constitutional symptoms. We need to find that what to prescribe. So if it goes from breast to lung, the remedy, the set of remedies would be different. If the metastasis takes place from breast to brain or breast to liver, the set of remedies would be different. So this, where the cancer is going, what kind of pathology, right-sided, left-sided, upper quadrant, and modalities, these are very important factors. What are the accompanying pathologies? This is also one of the important factors. Then another scenario is patient with secondary cancer with metastasis. These are comparatively difficult cases, many a times with poor vitality, paucity of symptoms, and lots of side effects. Here, prescription based on pathology, good drainage, and nullification of side effects are primary. We need to give what the chemotherapy has caused, what the radiation has caused, along with lifting patients' vitality up by advising special nutrition, detoxification, and counseling are very much required. Somebody has raised a hand. Can we keep question answer after
Yeah, we will have question and answer after the presentation.
So, so when there is a secondary cancer, a good constitutional, when the patient is ready to take the constitutional remedy or NOZOD, then only we can prescribe it. Otherwise, so many times we have to nullify the side effect, we have to take care of the nutrition, we have to take care of the mental trauma. And when the vitality is good, then only we can prescribe constitutional or NOZOD. Then a patient comes from prevention, another scenario in cancer OPD, patient with no history of cancer in past, but a strong family history of cancer. Famous Hollywood actress Angelina Jolie went for total mastectomy is an example of such preventive measure. These patients are most of the time with BRCA gene positive. Here also NOZOD with constitutional remedy will help. Then this is also one of very important aspect, secondary prevention. Patient with past history of cancer but currently symptom free. Here is also, see, such patients comes to us a lot, and with the data I have, I can assure that homeopathy is one of the most useful but gravely neglected science when we have a tremendous role for the secondary prevention. That generally 80% of the patients, cancer patients, will go into relapse within the span of 50 years. These are the statistics. They will have cancer within 5 years, 80% of patients. But I'm doing this for 5 years, where there is a 80% probability of relapse in general science. I have seen hardly 10% patients who are taking homeopathy immediately after the primary cancer surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy is done. Only 10% will go into relapse. 80 to 90% patients, they do not go into relapse of cancer. This is a huge statistic, and it shows that how much our homeopathy is effective in preventing the cancer to relapse in patients who have already got cancer. So I have data, but yet it is not sufficient that I can present a paper, but we are keeping a close look. And I can assure that here is where homeopathy has a tremendous role. Then we can also go for the side effects of conventional therapy like hair falling, cachexia, leukopenia, GIT disturbance. These are many, radiation burns, but I will not post-surgical complications. These things also come to us and we have to choose according to the situation. And I will not go into that how do we treat side effects, but we cannot find the constitutional remedy straight away. We have to see if these are the symptoms of constitution or if these are the symptoms of the aggressive therapy patient has taken. Then palliation, as I said, initially we were getting only patients where palliation was the choice, only choice. But here also we have got a very good response. Homeopathy remedies works very favorably. And from this area only, from the mouth publicity, we are now getting many virgin cancer patients. So this is the area because patient has no hope that he's suffering like anything. But with our small remedies, we can really make those last days of cancer patient very peaceful and serene. There is one thing also with severe malnutrition and cachexia, and we need to remember our marasmus remedies again with when we are treating such patients. Then what we I'm going to the breast cancer remedies, which is our today's topic. What we need to ask when we are seeing a breast cancer patient. So first thing we will always inquire is menstrual, gynec, and obstetric history. Then a history of taking synthetic hormones. As I said, it is one of the factor if patient has taken any hormone therapy before. Then history of lactation. Then if any injury to breast has ever happened, what is the sex life of the patient, because sex life has lots to do with the hormonal status of patient, and hormones, 80% of breast cancers are hormone positive. And history of conventional treatment taken. So these are the patients, these are the points we ask when we treat the breast cancer patients. Now I will give you, as I said that I have studied almost 100 breast cancer remedies in detail. I will share 2 to 3 remedies here looking to the time availability with us, that so that we can apply them in our clinic better way. Otherwise, when we have breast cancer patients, we know that phytolacca is a very good remedy for breast cancer. Asteria rubens is a very good remedy for breast cancer. But when patient comes to us with very local pathology and no constitutional, it is very difficult to prescribe that what to give. So before we go to remedies, again a short description of that we have 3 types of breast cancer clinically. First is hormone positive breast cancer. 70 to 80% of breast cancers fall into this class, right? Either they are estrogen positive breast cancer or progesterone positive breast cancer. It is called ERPR. And in this cancer, the cancer cells receive their growth from estrogen and progesterone respectively. And anti-hormone like anti-estrogen or aromatase inhibitors or anti-progesterone drug are the medical way of treating them. Or sometimes the ovaries are removed. The second type of breast cancer, which is 10 to 20%, is Herceptin positive breast cancer. This is a kind of monoclonal antibody, and trastuzumab is one of the remedy which is given. The second pathological kind. Third kind of breast cancer clinically is triple negative breast cancer. This breast cancers does not have any receptor positive, and they affect the younger people. They are very aggressive in nature, And these are the cancers which are very difficult to treat. They are very metastatic and aggressive in nature, and they have very poor prognosis generally. And chemotherapy like paclitaxel, platinum-based drug like cisplatin and carboplatin, doxorubicin, and cyclophosphamide kind of chemotherapies are the drug of choice. So what are our homeopathic breast cancer remedies? So as I said that I worked up in 100 remedies, but I will share only 2 to 3 remedies here. So first remedy, when I read sarsaparilla as a remedy for breast cancer, I was surprised, because what I knew about sarsaparilla, that it is a good remedy for kidney disease and it is a good remedy for skin disorders. But then I studied this sarsaparilla, and what I have found from all the cancer remedies I have studied, that most of the cancer remedies are made up from, the plants are made up from weed. Now, what is a weed? It is a plant which growth is not required. It is a poisonous plant, but when it grows, it really takes all the nutrition from the desired crop, and whatever you try to cut it, burn it, pull it, they will regrow again and again. And 90% of our homeopathic cancer remedies are made up from such weed. And it struck to my mind that malignant tumors, malignant cells are also like weed. Whatever we try to cut them by surgery, burn them by radiation, kill them by chemotherapeutic drug, they keep on growing back. And they damage the healthy tissues, and we cannot get rid of this growth of these cells. So there is a kind of a very similar doctrine between weeds and these cancer cells. So, and all our cancer remedies, what our pioneer homeopathies have listed under the cancer, these most of not 90%, 95% plant remedies are from the weed. So I think if we want to find a cure for cancer, it has to be from weed. Right. So this sarsaparilla is also a weed. It is a very damage tolerant plant capable of growing back from its rhizome after being cut, burnt, or frozen. And that is what even cancer cells do. If you froze them with cryotherapy, they will again grow back. You cannot get rid of. So what is the phytochemistry of this sarsaparilla? It contains steroids which exhibit action like glucocorticoid, testosterone, and progesterone. And this stole my attention that sarsaparilla contains progesterone. So it will be a remedy for which kind of breast cancer? Certainly it will be a remedy from progesterone kind of breast cancer. What you have, you can treat that, right? This is our homeopathy law of similarities. So the phytochemistry, this sarsaparilla has got lots of testosterone and glucocorticoids also. That's why it is damaging to kidney. And if it can damage and destroy kidneys, it can cure it. This is our similarities. That's why if we want to give sarsaparilla to a patient, the patient can have kidney disease, can have diabetes, because it has glucocorticoids, and the kind of pathology, if we want to see, it will be a progesterone positive kind of breast cancer. Now, estrogen is very skin protective. It gives the suppleness of skin to the female, right? And progesterone, when there is an excess of progesterone, the estrogen will be less, and the skin will be less softer. And in sarsaparilla, if we find that there will be lots of dryness. So there are lot many skin pathologies as well. And if we look at the current research, the phytochemistry research of in the modern medicine, it is written that it is proved actually by herbal doctors, herbal molecular scientists, that sarsaparilla is a very well-proven remedy in current research for cytotoxic and anti-apoptotic properties and for treatment of cancer. So it is not just listed in homeopathy as a very capable remedy to cure cancer, but also it is scientifically proven that sarsaparilla has very potent cancer curing properties. It is approved. So many people tell us that homeopathy doesn't have any research, but it is already there, but we do not know how to bring them together. This here I also listed the link where it is proven that Sarsaparilla can cure cancer. Now, which kind of cancer? The first is it's a progesterone positive kind of cancer, and when there is a progesterone is responsible, it will cure a dimpling and PUD orange appearance of the skin. So what I have put a photograph like. If we want to give Sarsaparilla to cure cancer, it has to be a retroversion of nipple and this orange like PUD orange like appearance. So this is the way we can differentiate. Like Asteria rubens has lots of redness. Apis mellifica, which is one of the cancer remedy, has lots of swelling and soreness and burning kind of pain. If it is Phytoleca, there will be purplish hue. So here there will be a retroversion of nipples. And progesterone, see, when there is a estrogen positive breast cancer, patient will be very obese because estrogen is responsible for fat accumulation in the body. So generally the patient will be obese, while progesterone is responsible to losing weight. So the cancer patient will be very marasmic and thick, a kind of cachexia. And if you find in the textbook, Sarsaparilla is listed under one of the good remedies for marasmus, where skin hangs loose in the folds. So, and there will be atrophy of mammae and wilting of nipples with suppuration. So these are the symptoms of Sarsaparilla when we want to prescribe. Then what are the mental symptoms? So see, if you read scientifically, progesterone also produces a kind of sadness and gloominess. And if you read in our Materia Medica, Sarsaparilla is a remedy where the characteristic is gloominess or sadness accompanies the pain. So this is a very characteristic symptom: sadness with pain, gloominess with pain. If it is irritability with pain, we think of chamomilla or other remedies, right? So here there is gloominess, and progesterone, when it is in excess in our body, it produces a kind of gloominess and sadness. Then what are other homeopathic indications of Sarsaparilla? Thirstlessness, salivation and halitosis, like mercury. Then neither appetite nor thirst, the food is disgusting. The thought of food is disgusting, like sepia. So these are the symptoms: thirstless, salivation, halitosis like mercury. Food is disgusting like sepia. Periosteal involvement and nightly bowel pain. This indicates that there are higher chances of cancers to metastasis to bone. So where the metastasis will take place, generally it will metastatize to bone. So when there is a breast cancer with bone metastasis, we have only few sets of remedies like radium brome, cadmium, and one of the remedies is Sarsaparilla. And fig warts and red warts. This is also one of the objective symptom: red warts and fig warts. Then menstrual symptoms, this we can find in our Materia Medica: urging to urinate preceded by menses retarded. Then itching, eruption on forehead during menses. See, hormones and skin both are interrelated. Menses, progesterone, so menses late, scanty, acrid, excoriating inside of thighs preceded by frequent desire to urinate. Climacteric period, abortion, disposition to an intolerable stench on genital organs. These are the symptoms of Sarsaparilla. These are the breast symptoms, which very important is retraction of nipples, shearers of the breast, suppuration of the breast, mammae atrophy, and nipples wilted. So here I finish with Sarsaparilla, and I'm sorry, I'm going very fast because we have very limited time. So the second symptom is second remedy is Aristolochia clematis. I have already given introduction in my case presentation. So this remedy is not very well known, but it is very ancient remedy, and it was known as birthwort because, and in Sanskrit it is called Ishwari. It was a famous remedy for obstetric problems since medieval times. It is used to promote birth, promote abortion, and as a contraceptive since many, many centuries. It is also used in the treatment of snake bite. And like calendula, it is used as an external application over injury. It is as well used to assist inducing labor as an abortifacient and contraceptive. So this is birth what? Mechanism of action. This plant when given causes excessive renal pumping and cervical dilatation. So that's why it is used in the obstetric practices. Owing to this property, it was used in weight loss clinic at Taiwan as diuretic, but many females developed bladder carcinoma later. So when this plant was given, the patients developed bladder carcinoma. It is found to be then they did lots of research and that said that all herbal preparations are not safe, but this plant is a confirmed carcinogen with distinct mutagenic signature after thorough investigations. They have found it is established. If you write name of this plant, the carcinogenic properties will be evident to you. So according to our law of similars, if it can cause cancer, if it is a carcinogenic, it can cure cancer, right? So all the carcinogens are our potent cancer remedies. Then this plant induces prostaglandin secretion. So it is found, so I'm not going into the detail of the biochemistry that what pathways it opens and what it does, but it produces excess of prostaglandin secretion. And when there is an excess of prostaglandin found in any cancer patient, the prognosis is also very poor. So this is one of the indication. When there is a lots of prostaglandin, we can think of Aristolochia clematitis. We have to study that, and I have studied phytochemistry of all the breast cancer remedies, right? So and there will be excess of progesterone. Sorry, this plant has lots of estrogen. So unlike sarsaparilla, this plant is full of phytoestrogen. So naturally, this is the remedy for estrogen cancer. Right, as I said, there is a this plant is used like calendula in injury. So when there is a chronic inflammation of pelvic breast tissue as well as a history of injury, we can think of this plant. And when there are synthetic estrogen and given to the patient for hormone replacement or by other means, and then there is a history of this taking such hormones and the cancer develops, we can always use this plant to antidote the side effects of hormones, and even it can cure cancer. So what are the indications of this Aristolochia? It produces excess of estrogen, right? Indicated for conditions arising after hysterectomy, use of synthetic female hormones to defer menstruation, contraception, or to treat sterility. In routine office work, first consideration is to be given to Aristolochia before any other remedy, unless indicated in any cases of suppressed or deficient menstruation. It restores menstruation which is too weak or suppressed, even in cases of amputation of uterus. Then urinary infection, albuminuria, polyuria, pyelitis, preeclampsia. These are the symptoms. Now, what is the other indication of Aristolochia in our? So it is a hybrid of Sapia, Pulsatilla, and Arnica. Tearful depression, fear of people, but not aversion, easily offended, not easily comforted like Pulsatilla, but rather inconsolable and cross when in depression, yet not actively aggravation by consolation like Sapia. So it is like Sapia and Pulsatilla, and injury, nothing happens like Arnica. So it is called a hybrid of these three remedies. Then what is the mind symptoms? Prevalence of extreme moods. When there is excess of estrogen, there will be always mood swings and psychosis. And one moment patient is very happy, other moment the patient is very sad, and insatiable hunger. These premenstrual kind of symptoms are present with breast cancer, right? The mood swings and lots of bloating. Then the general symptoms. Do you want to say anything to me, Dr. Shaji?
Yes.
Do you want to say me anything, or shall I go on?
Okay, you can. How long? How much time more?
2 to 3 minutes.
Okay,
Right, sir?
continue.
Okay, so I'm not going into detail of this, but let's come to the third and last remedy of our presentation. This remedy is Gallium aperi. It is a remedy from Rubiaceae family, the China coffee and Ipecac family. Weedy and invasive plant. It has got hairy root-like structure which clings to fur of an animal passing nearby to get dispersed. This Gallium aperi, the coffee family plant, I was very surprised when I read name of this plant in our Materia Medica as a remedy for breast cancer. But I have used it and the results are very, very authentic. I mean, it is, I can confirm when it is indicated, it will cure cancer. It is used as a cheaper substitute for coffee with less caffeine and a tonic for lost weight. This is also used for injury and it has been a remedy for gravel and kidney tonic. So when I studied the phytochemistry, I found that it is a precursor of doxorubicin, which is a very potent chemotherapeutic agent. So botanically and chemically, it is related to one of the chemotherapeutic drug. And this doxorubicin is given for triple negative kind of breast cancer. And if we find, if you will find the current research that what are the molecular biologists have worked what on gallium aperi, you will always find that it confirms that gallium aperi is a very good cytotoxic and anti-cancer remedy, and it is generally indicated for triple negative type of breast cancer. So sarsaparilla is for progesterone positive breast cancer, Aristolochia for estrogen positive breast cancer with lots of prostaglandin excess, and this gallium aperi is a remedy for triple negative kind of breast cancer. It is a cytotoxic and cardiac toxic. When a patient is given doxorubicin, generally doctor will assess the cardiac health because it is a cardiotoxic drug. So I give gallium aperi when the patient has cardiac issue and breast cancer, because so many times we do not have symptoms. Then as we do not have good materia medica of gallium aperi, what symptoms we take? So what are the symptoms of coffee family? Because it belongs to Coffea cruda family, the Rubiaceae family. So excessive nerve stimulation. So it is a cancer pain remedy. We all know that Coffea is a very good painkiller. So there will be a cancer pain, and this remedy is useful to soothe the cancer pain. And I have clinically confirmed it. Then all the coffee plants are very bitter in taste. Cinchona is very bitter. So there is a bitter taste in mouth with nausea. These are the symptoms, and these are the symptoms of Rubiaceae family. Then history of intermittent fever. When patient has got cancer as well as fever, I always think of gallium aperi, like the China kind of fever with rigors, bitterness, and chill and sweat and heat, all three stages well marked. Then excessive stimulation of mind with abundance of idea, joy leading to restlessness and sleeplessness. Either there will be lots of nervous stimulation or pain. And these are the homeopathic indications. And this gallium aperi, and generally there is a lots of liver metastasis. And when a metastasis takes pain from breast to distant organs, this remedy is very indicated. In conium, the growth will happen again on the same time, same place. The cancer is removed, again there the cancer develops. While in gallium aperi, it will be traveling to further locations, and generally the case will be here. One of the good indication is patients with multiple neurofibroma, right? It is a very good medicine for this is also one of the objective symptoms. Right, affinity for liver and blood metastasis. This gallium is also very good remedy for lymphoma. So here I finish my little work and presentation. Thank you, Dr. Shaji. And
Thank you very much, Dr. Shruti.